Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show we have. Oh my God, my voice went. The show we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help you unlock your spend at AWS. I've actually ordered some T-shirts to have that on the back, like a shorter version. So hopefully I won't forget it that time. Welcome, everyone. We are talking all about, oh my goodness, my word, about Bedrock cost allocation today. We are excited to talk about some new features that have come out, how to look at your spend using the CUR and these new columns, as well as even doing some stuff about model life cycles that Justin's going to talk about. So we've got a lot of demo focus today, so you can use this video anytime to have a little look at how to use these techniques and queries and stuff like that. So make sure you save this and give it a like wherever you're doing it. Someone's joined us from Mexico. Oh, shout out. That's so cool. I love knowing people are coming from. Yeah, drop any questions, comments in the chat as we go, or if you're watching us on YouTube, you could do that on the on-demand video as well. So my name is Steph Gooch. I'm a senior SA advocate at AWS, here to help you on your FinOps journey. Yuri, do you want to give everyone a quick intro?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Yuri. I'm Principal Technical Account Manager here at AWS, and I'm also leading Cloud Intelligence Dashboards project.
And Justin?
Hey, folks. Justin Marks. I'm also a Principal TAM here at AWS, FinOps specialist, and I deal a lot with CUR. I own the CUR query library, and excited to be here today.
Yeah, we are going to dive into, like I said, a lot of demo stuff. But before we do, next week, as Yuri is kind of branded, is FinOps X. We've finally come around to FinOps X. Super excited. We are all going to be there. So make sure to come and say hi, ask us some questions, even about this topic, and let people know if you watch the show. If you are coming along, make sure to check out my session, Advanced AI Optimization with Capital One, with Adam and Brent. I'm really looking forward to doing this. And if you are still considering maybe buying a ticket last minute, don't forget you can use the code keys to AWS to get a nice chunky discount. But what are you guys going to be doing at FinOps X? What are you doing, Yuri?
Actually, I think this is my first X when I'm not speaking, so I'm like the least stressful one. So I'm going to do a lot of meetings. I'm very excited about meeting a lot of customers, and rest of the time I will be around probably AWS booth. Then we also will have AWS party I think on Monday evening, right? And yeah, that's the plan for the week. So very excited to meet everyone and to have plenty of discussions about FinOps.
Yeah, what about you, Justin?
Yeah, it's very similar to Yuri's. Not speaking this year, just excited to meet with the focus working group, meet with some customers. I'll be at the party as well, so excited I'll see some folks at the expo hall at the booth.
Yeah, talk to Justin all about your CUR usage for sure. Yeah, come join the party. I think that we're getting close to capacity on this, so do make sure that you choose that RSVP. I'll make sure that for the chat to share that link. But yeah, come talk to us. It will be a fun day. And hello to everyone in the chat. I love the hellos coming in. We love to see it, and keep those questions coming throughout. But let's get into it. Let's get into some Bedrock cost allocation, the reason why we're all here. So before we do, I think we should just cover like a little bit of the nuance with Bedrock pricing. Yuri, I don't know if you want to touch on kind of why this is interesting as a concept, Bedrock pricing.
Well, the interesting is because it's the main pricing unit is tokens, right? It's something relatively new. I mean, new. Everyone get used to it, but it's tokens, and tokens are a fundamental unit of basically of what LLMs use to take the inputs and produce the outputs. And what is interesting is especially in cost allocation of Bedrock, that when we run workloads on Bedrock, it's not like we provision some resources. It's not like we deployed EC2 instance or we created EBS volume, some resources which we can tag. With Bedrock, most of the usages belongs to basically API calls. We run invoke model, or we use like converse API calls or batch API calls. And that's why cost allocation becomes challenging. And up till last, I think 2 weeks ago, it was pretty hard problem to solve. But today we are going to talk about basically how it all became very simpler.
Yeah, is going to be a lot of kind of people who are excited about this. This feature that we're going to be diving into has been around for a little bit, but as of, I believe today or in the next 24 hours, you'll be able to do some changes in your custom use reports. This is something new that's been able to happen. But Justin, when it comes to people like your customers, have they been really like hungry to get access to this kind of data?
Sorry, Steph, I missed that. Could you say that again?
Yeah, have your customers been excited to dive into this Bedrock data?
Yeah, it's really nice, right? Using IAM principal tag data is a lot more scalable than having to create, let's say, dozens or hundreds of application inference profiles and then going and tagging all of them. So imagine you wanted to track per person or per department, but you have like dozens or hundreds of these things. Creating an application inference profile for each of those cases, it doesn't scale super well. You have to manage all of it. You have to be able to tag all of it and tie it back to the inference profile IDs back to these groups in your cost and usage data. But using IAM, folks are already doing this. They're already setting up users and departments and groups and things like this in their roles. So passing these tags through just naturally scales, and it makes it easier to allocate back to like the source of these calls. So
yeah. Just to summarize, basically in Bedrock there are a few ways what you can tag. One is you can tag inference profiles, and then now you can also tag your IAM roles which use Bedrock. And that's very cool, because if you have different roles for different applications, now you can just kind of see which roles is using, consuming which amount of resources. And then what also possible to tag is sessions, IAM sessions. And that's where, especially for like SaaS providers where you have multi-tenant kind of environment or applications, it's very important, because by using given one role and different sessions under the same role, you can actually tag, for example, per tenant, per maybe some different within one role application use cases.
Yeah, and we had a question, so I thought it's what you were going to dive into, which was what is an inference profile. I'll cover this quickly. So an inference profile is a kind of configuration that you can reuse when you connect with Amazon Bedrock. So you can set in things like the model you want to use and then tag it, and then it allows for you to kind of go through this little pipeline. And then when it comes to your spend, because you've tagged that resource, it comes in, like you were saying, it comes into the cost and use report. But with the IAM solution, it means you no longer have to manage these. There is still a place for inference profiles. So if you want to use things like the default dashboards in CloudWatch, having these inference profiles allows for like a nicer separation of model. So they can still be useful. There's also a bunch of different use cases from it, but I'm doing it in FinOpsX, so I'm not going to spoil too much of my talk from that, talking about inference profiles. So we'll leave that for now. But like Yuri said, yeah, we can use it for these different sessions, and I'm so excited to like dive into this, because before we didn't have a way of doing it, and now we can start to gather this data. Justin, when it comes to this solution, these IAM, this ability, do you your customer, I'm curious from a TAM's point of view, do you have more customers using users, roles, or sessions, or is it more of a mixture?
Yeah, I think it's going to depend, right? I think a lot of customers may be using this for internal use cases, or like you had kind of alluded to, if you're like an ISV and you're building something for your external customers. I think each will kind of fit depending on what your use case is. But yeah, Yuri, I don't know if you have
one of the customers who I work with, actually, they were very excited about this feature, and they use those session tags, which we are going to cover. Actually, because they have multi-tenant environments, they need to serve multiple tenants, so they kind of don't really use this IAM role tags, but they actually send tags within the sessions. So, but again, it's up to each customer to decide how to use it.
Yeah. Brilliant. So what we'll do is we're going to have a look at how you enable these tags on data exports and the tags around it. And then we're going to dive longer into how do we actually use these elements. But any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go. But let me bring up my screen. So how do you create these or allow these data to come into your cost and use report? Well, the biggest thing, folks, is you have to be on CUR 2.0, right? CUR 2.0 is the one that has this data. The other older CUR does not. So it's a big factor. So I've just got an example CUR in here. And the thing you're going to want to look for is either when you create a new cost and use report or edit it. If you scroll down here, we now have this IAM principal allocation data. So just having to tick that and then save will allow you to be able to add this extra column. Another important thing that we were talking about before, which I didn't realize until Yuri started investigating for this show, was the cost allocation tags you need to enable, but specifically for IAM principal. Yuri, do you want to explain this?
Yeah, so in cost allocation tags, there are different tag types. And IAM principal is a new tag type. So even if you have, for example, like application tag enabled as resource tag type, now you still need to go here and enable it as IAM principal tag. This is very important because without this, it won't be propagated as a cost allocation tag, even if the tag name matches. So it's something important, and it's very easy to oversee it, so that's why it's like we bring a lot of attention here. So pick here tag type IAM principal and then tag your resources. One more thing is that you will see those tags only when you start having some usage. So only once you started to have to send those session tags, and we will show shortly how to start using this. But only after you started to use it, you will get those tags available here and you can select them.
Yeah, it's like a before and after kind of situation. The order is crucial when we do this. But yeah, making sure that you have gone in and done this little like added feature is going to be the big crucial thing. And as of like I said, believe today, this is now available for you to edit. So previously you had to make a whole new cost and usage report, but now you can just edit an existing ones, which is amazing because we don't want you guys to have to go and regenerate new versions of this. We've got a question as well. How about assumed roles? Does it support assumed roles?
Yes, and we are going to show it.
Yay, because Corsair logs in with SSO, and so assumed roles are keys. Yes, we are going to show it. Great questions. Keep them coming. Anything else we want to talk about before we just dive into like setting some of this usage up?
I think it's maybe worth calling out too, if folks are used to legacy CUR or if they've been using CUR 2 for a while, they may be used to the resource underscore tags column. All this data actually shows up in a column that showed up in the last couple of months called it's just tags. It combines their resource tags with like your cost categories and some of the other values that you can pipe in there, and the IAM principal value tag values will show up in that newer column. So just make sure if you've locked down your CUR 2 schema that you also add that new column in there too.
Yeah, and one more thing is if you are using CloudFormation templates for enabling data exports like CUR2, Focus, and like all the reports provided by Cloud Intelligence Dashboards with CID, we also support this new IAM principle. So you can just update your stacks and you will get this enabled as well.
Oh, and we got a couple of questions about Focus, and Justin is definitely the Focus guy. So with Focus CUR exports or Focus data exports, how does AWS map Bedrock token billing to standard columns, or do we rely on customer columns for tokens and models? Justin, do you know?
You know what? I do have some column mapping stuff. It's in my head. I can't pull it up at the moment, but you should be able to see your Bedrock token billing in the Focus standard columns. If you're looking for the granular breakdowns that we're going to kind of cover today about IAM principles, I would think that those show up in the tags column as well that we send with Focus, but can definitely follow up.
Tags will be there, but IAM principle itself, the role won't be there, but the tags will be there.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah. So
yeah, if that person wants to email costoptimization@amazon.com and we can share, please do let us know, and we can always. And for everyone, if you have any other questions, follow-ups, please email costoptimization@amazon.com. We also had another question. Yuri, I don't know if you know this. How do you add tags for users using Identity Center? A roles generated for permission sets in allowed account can't be modified to add tags to the role. Do you know about this?
So this is something then you can actually, it depends on the application and how you authenticate your users, and then how you then send those requests to Bedrock. I think we can cover a little bit of this in the demo which we are going to show. But overall, it's because you can send the session tags, I think you actually can do that for pretty much anything. Like if you run assume roles there, you would be able to send the session tags. I hope I kind of got what the question was about, but yeah.
Again, let us know. Email if that wasn't correct and you want some more information. Email costoptimization@amazon.com and we can send through some better elements. Another one: how do we enable existing resource cost allocation tags as IAM principles? So I believe it's like we said, going onto your cost allocation tags, filtering for these, and then mine already enables, but it would be activate rather than deactivate, right? Yeah, so it's just changing that activation button. But like Yuri said, you have to filter, otherwise you might not see. Or if I don't have any, then for example, here we go, environment. I can do this live. I can go in and I can activate it. There we go. Oh, I should do this for all of mine actually. Just we'll do some admin for the group while we're here. But yeah, and then I've got to bring up this last comment, which is Steph is the best AWS host. I'm gonna say that again. Steph is the best AWS host ever. That's me. That's not me, everyone. Everyone thinks that's just me commenting on my own things. Thank you so much. That's so kind. Lovely. Let's get into, so now that we have this data, we've enabled it, we've enabled the cost allocation tags, we've done that kind of hard work. Yuri, do you want to show Cost Explorer first, and then we'll dive into the custom usage report?
Let's first show how to use it, how to actually, how it would look like in the code, right? How to actually send
yes.
And to do that, I've set up some demo environment, and I have a couple of roles. And I have a role, Bedrock demo role for production, for staging. So I have like three roles. And each of the roles has their own tags. And as you can see, I just went to IAM and just tagged it as environment equals production, right? And all those roles are tagged. And then I have my code. And let me just move here. And in the code, I have something like just a Python script which takes some input parameters, and then it does two things. First is it assumes role with the tags, and then under this role makes a call to Bedrock, right? Two simple, basically, actions. Now let's take a look at this assume role with tags, because that's where the whole magic happens. And what I'm doing here is I'm basically having, I'm passing here some stuff. It's my application specific details, like department, application. And I also have a role name, which I want to assume. So again, I may have the same code, which kind of can assume different roles depending on the different application context, or maybe customer context and something like that. What I'm doing then next is I'm making a call STS assume role. And this is pretty much what most of the customers are doing today, right? And here I'm passing role IRN, and then if this role has tags, as you saw in IAM environment tag, those tags will be propagated to Cost Explorer and to Cost and Usage Report. One more thing which I can send here is role session name. So basically I can have a session name where I can send pretty much any kind of string. And I can put here maybe my additional context like department and application. And I can also, and this session name will be part of IAM principal column. We will see it later. And then I can also send tags in the assume role API call. So it's not a Bedrock converse API call yet. I'm just assuming the role here. So I have role ARN, and I also send in my tags. And the tags could be, for example, I'm sending department tag and application tag, which come as the inputs to this function. And then under this assumed role with credentials, I'm passing it to Bedrock Converse API. And as you can see, I'm just making a call to Bedrock Converse, and I have some messages and stuff like that. But in my API call to Bedrock, I don't have anything different. Nothing has changed. The only thing is changed is that I'm passing tags into assume role and session name and also role ARN, which has tags. Right? So that's how we can start using it in our applications. And then once we...
Oh, before you move on, Yuri, there's some questions that I want to jump into around it. So can you give a brief, explainer about what IAM principles are? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so IAM principle, it's entity under which you can make some API calls and API actions. And in general, it's basically a role in Bedrock context. It's a role, or it could be user, but generally it's a role under which you making API calls, because it's basically your identity under which you want to make API call. So that's IAM principle.
Okay. And then we have another question. Let me take this out with you guys. For EKS apps calling Bedrock, do you recommend using dynamic session tags during assume role to avoid IAM role sprawl, or is it better to map to one static IAM role per application in a service for a service account?
Well, I would say it kind of depends, because obviously, additional assume role would add like one more API call. From the other side, if you already using like IAM role per application, then just tag your roles, and it's the easiest way. If you have shared role, use sessions. Don't re-architect heavily your applications for just the sake of tagging. Pretty much you can plug in what you have today. So both would be pretty much like the same. Will provide you the same output.
And Justin, when you speak to customers about this, or even deal with like CUR stuff, do you see a lot of people use, like, I'm curious just as a user, or as a, what do we call it, just in general, are people using a lot containers to connect to things like Bedrock or Lambda, or do you see a pattern in how customers are connecting with Bedrock?
I think they're connecting all over the place. Yeah, I mean, containers make sense. Lambda makes sense. It really depends on where customers are, running the compute for these things. As far as EKS is considered, you want a role, you want to treat roles as like, permissions, boundaries. So you may have a particular group or an application that needs specific permissions in IAM. And maybe you do some consolidation to reduce sprawl as much as you can. And at that point, you still may need to pass these dynamic tags through, right? You may want to differentiate between certain subsystems within an app. And you can do that by passing those dynamic tags through. So
there is a limit on amount of IAM roles in the account. So also, I think it's 5,000 IAM roles. So it's also like consider this as well.
Yeah, that's a great thing to be mindful of. Someone just put, hello, it would be great if a user from SSO session would be automatically recognized, so we don't rely on setting up tags directly. I'm guessing that might be a feature kind of request, guys.
Yeah, identity in this case, like we will see later when we will be showing CUR, there is tags and there is IAM principle. So IAM principle will be logged. So your SSO kind of identity under which you make this call, it will be logged into IAM principle columns. But yeah, those tags won't be there.
What I would say is, if that, and I think it was Andrew, drop me an email, Cost Optimization at Amazon.com, and we can like feed that back to service teams. Please do, and we can connect that to kind of get that fed back for sure. Right now, we have seen kind of how do we add it, how do we make sure we're using sessions and roles, and I guess remind you can just tag a normal role as well if you're not using these sessions. But let's have a look and see what it looks like in our spend data. So Yuri's got Cost Explorer up.
Yeah.
And so nice and simple.
Now I want to see basically my tags. Yeah, I spend so much, effort on adding those session tags and stuff like that, and I want to finally see them. And in Cost Explorer, if you look at the dimension for group by, let me try to zoom in here a little bit. Now again, you have this separate type of the tags, IAM principal, and you can, as you can see now, here is our tags. Environment, it's basically a tag which was on the IAM role, and application and department, those are the tags which we were sending in the IAM assume role session as a session tags. And we can just select it, and let me just zoom out a little bit, and yeah, and now we can see breakdown of our Bedrock spend per tag. Yeah, so for environment, we can see staging, development, production, and we can also see for application and for department. So here in I created some demo workload where I have some demo applications like chatbot, customer support. So all those tags from IAM role and sessions now here in Cost Explorer.
Excellent. And just to clarify for someone, can we configure tags for IAM user also, or is just for resource? You can use it for users as well, I believe is what the documentation says. Justin saying yes. So yeah, all of them, folks, making your life so much easier, which is really exciting. But the thing we want to talk about today is the cost and usage report. So should we go on over to that and show you what that looks like in there from Data Experts?
Yeah, let's go. Because in Cost and Usage Report, actually, we have a little bit more than in Cost Explorer. And in Cost
don't forget to zoom in as well.
Yeah, I will. So in Cost and Usage Report, and let me start, run some couple of queries which we have. The first one, it will just show the new columns and where those tags actually appear in Cost and Usage Report. So here is the first query which I'm going to run. And it just does select of these new columns and the values which we have. So first of all, we have this new column, which is called line item IAM principal. And as you can see, you have here your IRN of the role. So Bedrock demo role or staging role, or I should have some production role or prod role as well. And I also have this session. You remember when I was making assume role call, I had this session string as well. So after backslash here, we have a session ID here. So it's also basically you can send some information here and then just parse IAM principal column. But basically, if you have, for example, SSO identity, you will have it here. And this is what is not available in Cost Explorer. This is something which kind of appears in CUR only. And then there is this new tags column, which was added to CUR 2 relatively recently, where you have pretty much all the tags and cost categories all together as this array of maps. And as you can see now, I have my tags IAM principal / and then tag key application and tag value. And again, tag IAM principal, department, and the value of department. And in this column, I have also my resource tags, cost categories. So pretty much all the tags and cost categories and account tags, everything. And if you want to extract the values, for example, only for application tag, like I did here as a separate column, or only department tag, to do that, you can just extract it in Athena with basically as getting data from the map, and you provide IAM principal and then your tag name, in this case department or application, and you get those raw values as a separate columns.
Excellent. I mean, the tags, so it talks to me a bit about the fact that there was resource tags and now there's tags. So is the tags column now the resource tags, or is it two different columns?
It's two different columns. So there is a resource tags column, there is cost categories column, and there is tags column, which includes everything. So resource tags has only resource tags, cost categories only cost categories, and tags includes resource tags, cost categories, account tags, IAM principal tags, and user attributes tags. So gradually, I will see customers actually switching to tags column in their CUR queries, and dashboards and solutions.
It's worth mentioning that resource tags, again, used to be its own separate column in legacy CUR and in CUR 2 before this tags column existed, and then cost categories was its own map of things. And then I think as the teams were adding more and more maps here, and I think this may have also been done to align a little bit better with focus, to have like one single tags column to rule them all, if you will. And so if you have resource tags in each of these rows, so theoretically, if you were using an application inference profile and you were making a call through that, you would see those resource tags listed in the tags column here too.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. There's so many things coming out all the time that I was like, oh yeah, the tags column. And then when you showed this year, I was like, oh, a new tags column. I didn't even realize. But the old one still, you could there's still it's not gone anywhere. So just to highlight that, like that column still exists if you have tags in there. But if you want an all-encompassing one, like Yuri said, to be able to grab more data, then that's absolutely. Then this is the one to start to migrate to.
Yeah. And then I can start using those new columns and have query like this, where I can just, for example, want to see cost per department and application. So I'm just selecting tag department, tag application, running a sum on line item unblended costs from CUR 2. And I can just run this query, and I will get cost per department and per application. So operations department, code review agent, here is my cost. So now I can actually have these CUR queries to see my cost allocation per tag for Bedrock usage.
Amazing. We have a couple of questions I want to go through. Let me take this down while we do some of these. Okay. Ooh, what is a common mistake you see customers make when they first set up tagging? Justin?
Forgetting to enable them is a pretty common one. Make sure you go check whether they're activated or not. I guess if you that's probably the biggest one. Yeah, just making sure you activate them. The other is trying to be reactive with trying to like track this tagging down, right? Maybe not having a strategy or a plan or like a taxonomy defined on your side. Like, hey, this is how we write. This is how we tag for department. It's spelled department. It's all lowercase instead of like capital D department. DEPT as a shortened version of it. So just getting everyone on the same page. Trying to tag as early as you can in like your Inference code, right? So if you use CloudFormation or Terraform or whatever, like adding your tags there makes tracking these things down a lot easier. And just make sure they're enabled. Those are probably my top 3.
Yeah. Yuri, anything to add?
Yeah, just tags taxonomy is important. Is the tags values, for example, I can send operations, but my other team can send ops, or like data science, it could be DS or something like that. And for that, using things like tag policies in audit mode would allow you to catch those things. But the most important is align and have some tagging taxonomy, which kind of you can share within organization and tell, okay, here's what we are going to tag, and basically using those tags. Then because if you tag something but then you're not leveraging your queries, solutions, dashboards, it's useless. So use them, make sure that they bring you value. You allocate those by those dimensions.
And don't tag because you feel like you have to. I remember when I first started learning about FinOps, and there wasn't really much information. And one of the core things we were like, tag. And so when I started doing FinOps as a customer, I was like, right, everyone, we have to tag. And one of the like senior managers was like, Steph, we don't need to tag. We have a really good account structure so that everything in the account is owned by a project. Like tagging is a waste of time. And I was like, oh yeah, that's way easier. And especially now with the tags column that Yuri just mentioned has account tags in it now, that we had to build a solution for that back in the day. And now we just have it natively. You can do that cost allocation at that level. So if you do have that structure, the other thing I would say, if you do have reasons why you do need to tag, then make it as part of the default of things like your Terraform modules and stuff like that. Don't make it so that people have to actively think about tagging. Like this should just be a default parameter that you use for things when it's in your infrastructure as code or CI/CD pipelines. Like just make it part of that.
One thing which is, it's not like a common mistake, but something that customers sometimes regret afterwards is, because when you tag resources, is basically you make a snapshot at a time. So your tag will be there for, let's say, in the future. And if things change, if you, for example, tag it with department tag, and if, for example, you change department names, you change, you moved departments or something else, the tags, you will have old tag values. So, and in many cases it's fine, but in some cases you want to actually reconcile them. And for this, you may want to use some IDs. For example, instead of department name, to tag as department ID. So then you can map those IDs to some values, and if over time things changed, you just kind of change your mapping, because you cannot retrospectively change tags in your historical cost and usage reports.
Yeah, it's a great point. So that little lesson on tags. Someone quickly asked, I defined a new tag for an IAM user and it does not appear in cost allocation tags. It says it takes 24 hours. I waited 48, but does not appear. I would take a guess that that role hasn't driven any cost yet, is probably the thing. Or you haven't looked at the IAM principal filter that Yuri just showed. So just to like re-bring that up on screen, make sure that you check in here so that you have this type filter. That might be the reason. But yeah, am I wrong, guys, that if the user has not incurred any spend, they won't show up yet?
Yeah, it won't show up.
It's also worth mentioning too that the IAM principal columns and tags, like pass through feature, it only works for Bedrock usage today. So make sure that the IAM user is actually invoking Bedrock usage. If they're just off, spinning up EC2 instances or something, you won't be able to see those tags come through. So
that is a great point. Yeah, so there'll be some reasons why, but if anything, you can always raise support tickets. But like I said, if you want any help, email costoptimization@amazon.com. More than happy to help anyone with these kind of questions. Another one we have is hello, Steph. Hello. How are you doing? I'm good. I thought you would be discussing RAG as well. When it comes to RAG, is there anything we need to be thinking about with this kind of cost allocation, guys?
Not much. So it's you may, it depends on how you using your like how you ragging, but just make sure that all rest of the resources involved in RAG actually also tagged. That's the thing. And because this is like what we are showing is how to tag Bedrock API calls, but there is way more. You have your applications and basically resources which involved in RAG. It's not just Bedrock API calls, so make sure that you're tagging them as well.
Brilliant. Go on, Justin.
I mean, I'm thinking too, it might be worth mentioning that you can log your Bedrock invocation. So if you were looking to do some sort of like proportional split or something, like, oh, hey, my RAG solution has cost me $1,000 this month, and I actually, and this is like a common shared data source or something, you could capture your Bedrock invocation logs and then maybe set up some kind of split if you were, kind of like a retroactive cost allocation.
Yeah. Definitely. And what I'll say, folks, is next week, as we said at the start, we're going to FinOps X. I'm doing a session all about Bedrock, and my section is going to be about understanding the usage. So I'll make sure on the next Keys episode to share the link to the recording when we get it, or on socials and whatnot. So I'd say the best group to join to be able to see this is the Cat LinkedIn group. If you go here, I'll be sharing links to the video, and we cover a lot of those kind of elements in detail, and vice versa. I'm showing this link in that session because we're doing a deep dive into it. So it's just links. I just love a link to share, folks. I want to make sure we get time to go into the Kudos update as well. So I'll come back to some of the questions that we have. But Yuri, was there anything else you wanted to show on CUR, or should we dive straight into
on CUR? I think that's most of it. So basically, like we showed how to get cost per tag, and you can also do this cost per IAM principle. But if you want to visualize this, and basically share as ready-to-be-used reports, in Kudos dashboard version 5.8, which we launched a couple of weeks ago, we actually added native support of all these tags into Bedrock-related visuals. So when you deploy or update Kudos, let me just zoom in a little bit, you can now choose different organizational taxonomies which you want to bring to the dashboard, and it could be like organizational unit tags, account level tags, some business unit mappings. So as you can see here in this demo account, I have like all possible variations. Now I can also bring IAM principal and IAM principal tags to the dashboards. And if I select now IAM principal, for example, tag application, as you can see, before May, we were pretty much blind in which applications were using Bedrock in our demo account. And now all of a sudden we see this visibility, we have this visibility. So we now can see cost per this application. Or I can switch for tag department, and now we can see cost per department, product, operations, engineering, all is here. The same with environment, so you can basically switch between the tags. You can also see it per IAM principle. You can extend it, so you can see like different roles and sessions. Again, in some cases, you may want to not to pass session because it may be too much permutations in the IAM principle, but just use tags. And then you will have like less IAM principle. It's just because I was sending session, I have this so many permutations here. But in any case, you can see this cost per all these dimensions. And what is also pretty cool here is that you can, like, for example, see it on daily basis as well. So you can switch from monthly to daily, and you can see how your daily cost per application look like. For example, here we have some couple of days with the usage. What also very interesting here is that we also show here cost per 1 million tokens. So as you can see, in my applications, I started to get my cost per 1 million tokens. It was relatively stable because there was some stable usage, and all of a sudden it went up, right? So it means that we started to have we are less efficient now compared to where we were before. And if you want to dive deeper into why, actually you can use different dimensions here and dive deeper. For example, you can see now this cost per model, right? So I can see, we started to use more Cloud Sonnet 4.5 compared to what we did before. And for example, on May 28th, we used Haiku way more, and that's why cost per 1 million tokens went down. And now in June, we started to use Sonnet way more than Haiku. So that's what drives cost up. Also, you can switch by usage and look cost by usage type group, where you would see how much you spend on output tokens, on input tokens. And again, it's something to look for is if you are using prompt caching, you will see it here. And in this case, we could clearly see that we are not using prompt caching. My question to all these applications would be why, right? Why we are not using prompt caching? Because prompt caching would allow us to save up to 90% of costs.
Yeah, and just to interrupt before you leave this part, someone actually asked, how do you tell the difference between input costs and output costs? So it can show the difference. And is it because input, there's look at how tiny the input is and those outputs. I would also say that there's an argument here for maybe some token thresholds in this, and sometimes you're getting this spend. Is there a reason for this kind of massive amount of output token? Has someone just asked it to recite War and Peace 20 times, or is it for something?
What is also cool here is that, for example, if I want to see, drill down into usage details of particular application, I can just click on it, So for example, customer support, I can just click on it, and then the rest of the visuals will be filtered based on my selection. So now I can see which pricing model I'm using it. Only on demand, basically standard on demand. Maybe I could use batch, maybe I could use flex, inference. Then again, I could see now only for this application, customer support, I could see how much I'm spending for output tokens, input tokens. Again, if I were using cache, I would see cache here. And then you could also see different other things like cost per million tokens by model. So we could see that we used a little bit of Haiku, but then we used Sonnet 4.5, which is more expensive, which cost us $15 for a million of tokens compared to Haiku, which was 5, right? So there is a lot of different insights which you can get here. So I would really recommend everyone to just update Kudos and look at those different dimensions for your Bedrock spend, especially if your Bedrock spend, grows into the ranking of your top services. It's definitely worth to keep an eye on because you can see how efficiently you're using Bedrock here.
Yeah. And I've shared the link in the chat, so make sure to go. If you haven't deployed these dashboards, like, what are you doing? They've been around for a long time, and they are just what I always say to people is like, start off with these if you want to start to understand your spend. If you ever want to go to a third party, like, that's great, but start to use these to understand your footprint as like a low cost and really data-driven, useful insights.
Yeah. If I may, I want to also mention a little bit here. We added just like yesterday a new visual here, which actually is this one shows cost per million tokens by model. So you see it like you can see your top models which you are using, and you can see your organizational average. So in this case, I could see that, for example, Sonnet 4.5, my average cost is $14, then Opus is $20, and my organizational average is 10. So when you always can kind of benchmark where you are. And also, if you see how you're using those models over time, as you can see, like, for example, Sonnet 4.5 started to cost us more per 1 million tokens. So again, you may be using caching less, or you started to have like more output tokens compared to input tokens. Or if you started to use caching, you should see this line actually go down because your efficiency improved. So that's how you can track over time efficiency of your usage of each model. That's also very cool and important.
Awesome. We have some questions, but anything else you want to show on this before we dive into those?
No, I think that's it. So in general, like all what we discussed, IAM principle, and then tags, they're available in Cost Explorer, CUR2, and also Kudos dashboard, so natively propagated all over the places.
Nice. Right. So the question, I saw one which was, can you define a fixed budget for an IAM user, let's say $50 per month, based on these tags? I know we have kind of budget actions that exist, but I don't know if you can use them for Bedrock. Anyone know? Otherwise, that feels like a product feature request.
I would think you can build budgets based off of just about anything you can visualize in Cost Explorer, right? And because
budgets, but not one that would prevent like someone deploying more.
Yeah, not a preventative. I wouldn't say a preventative one, but you can definitely have alerts trigger. You can take budget actions. So if you were able to hone in, the view on Cost Explorer to particular users or something, you could, but that won't scale super well because you'd be tracking like a budget per person, which isn't. You'd have to set that up.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, I think it would be. But again, if you're, you could also look at things like CloudWatch. In your CloudWatch logging that Yuri mentioned, you could also look into alarms based on IAM if they've used certain amount of tokens. Maybe think about it that way. That could be a way to do it in the account rather than anonymous section or budgets. Like there are other ways that kind of might filter into how you're using your applications. Also, it's probably not like a certain user that's using it. They're probably not doing like calls to Bedrock. It's probably a role that's using it within their application, so it's a little bit different. So think more of like the people aren't using Bedrock like they're using Quick or Kiro or another open like AI assistant. They're using it as part of an application, so it's not about the user, it's about the
application role,
the application. So remember to think about that. But like I said, email if you have any follow-up questions, because I don't know what I've just done for that. Anyways, let's keep going. Actually, do you know what I want to cover before we finish, which is Justin, what is a real life situation that that's come up recently, which is when understanding who is using a certain model is crucial?
Yeah. So I think it's worth mentioning that, all of the passing these IAM tags through into CUR, using Kudos to visualize it for cost, like all great primary use cases here. It's also nice if you're trying to track down who's using what model, and that could be super helpful. Let's say, you have certain users or app teams using an older model. AWS does have a model lifecycle for Bedrock. Think, the same way you would manage Kubernetes versions in EKS or database engine versions on RDS or Aurora. Model versions on Bedrock have a lifecycle to them, and they do get marked end of life. They get marked end of support, and you may want to go track down not only where costs are showing up for these older models, but who's using it and what teams are using it. So being able to enable these tags and use CUR for tracking those folks down is, it's another good use case here.
Yeah, and there's a good article blog that was created on this. So that's the link below, but it kind of shows this thing like we are moving so fast with AI models that these things become quote unquote old quickly. And so this is a prime example of you might need to be tracking things, because the other day my application broke because it was using an old model and I was like, what? Like, how has this gotten old? And so you need to start tracking this kind of information.
And there's at least one model out there that costs more too, if once it hits like the legacy or end of support. If you go check the Bedrock pricing pages, it's listed out there, but there's at least one model out there too. So if you're using Kudos and you see that jump in the average or a particular model's usage, it may have a model lifecycle angle there. So.
All right, with the last couple of minutes, anything else from you guys that you want to say before we just do the last questions?
I think we covered what we wanted.
We covered a lot, and this is going to be I'm just going to say everyone be like, this is how you do it. We've done it now. Just copy us, because there's so many nuances, especially that kind of IAM principle and the tags column. It's really important to know this. A question on the Kudos dashboard. Do we have to use the tags that you have in the demo, or do we set our own? No, you could edit it to do any tags you want.
Yeah, you can use your own tags. It's not necessary to use exactly the same names. Just when you deploy tags, when you deploy a dashboard or update dashboard, you can select which tags you want to bring to the dashboard. So it actually discovers your CUR2 and finds all the tags, shows them to you, and you can choose which ones you want to bring. And it will dynamically bring them to the dashboard, so you can bring your own tags.
I think if we tie it back real quick to the point we tried to make earlier, right? It's super important to when you're starting your tagging journey, just defend that or start with a strategy, start with your taxonomy. We have a really good white paper out there that covers tagging best practices. I encourage you read through it. It'll talk through, whether you're defining tags for the reason of cost or for operations or for security, and there's like a bunch of different reasons you may want to tag things. So don't use the ones we have here in the demo as the golden rule here, but I think department, user, right? Like I think these are some pretty common ones that we see.
Yeah. And someone, just to clarify, so legacy is cheaper? No, legacy is often more expensive. So this is the same with extended support cost. And Jeff says, dang, older models cost more. I need to be careful. It's like the reverse of iPhones. Like it's more expensive the older that they are, because you have to think of it like a battery life. It's just expensive to charge because you have to keep using it.
Yeah.
And then one more question, which was, does the IAM principle tag apply to Bedrock commitment inference pricing? So
yes. So basically, if you have, for example, if you're using something like reserved tier, right? Reserved tier, it's just part of your API call. So all your commitment based usage will be tagged exactly the same, because it's just a different parameter in your converse API call or your invoke model API call. So you will be using it in the same way. So you will have IAM role under which you make this call, and you can, when you make assume role call, you can send their tags. So yes, it's going to be covered.
Perfect. Okay. I think that's all we're going to have time for question-wise today. There's also a link to adding tags to your dashboard. So a couple of calls to action. Let's do our secret Richard summary that listens to this episode and gives us a high-level summary I haven't seen. Tag your iron roles, activate them in billing, and then use CUR 2.0 to see your costs by app or team. Start simple. Like Justin was just saying, centralize your tags. Don't overcomplicate it. And once you see your costs, set alerts so you can catch those big spenders. That's what I think of, and not get it at the end of the month. People, we're seeing a lot with these. We're hearing stories about people kind of spending and not really meaning to, especially when it comes to just like generated tokens and agentic workflows. So get ahead of the game, get yourself some alerts set up. So final bits from us. Number one, join the customer acceleration team LinkedIn group. This way you can see summaries of episodes. Like we said, I'll send in here the link from the session we have at FinOps X. But this is a great way to see and like past episodes from my other show. Also, check out Builders Center. This is a great place to see summaries of the episodes that we do. So this was my episode on Monday. I also wrote a really fun article about the cost of pay when you start a conversation with your AI assistant. So everyone's being polite, and the tax of politeness is high. So stop writing like a computer. But like you can see episodes in here. The best way to find this is to scan the QR code. If you haven't got a Builder Center ID or account, what are you doing? This is a great place to write and share articles and read from others. So go and check that out. And I think, is that everything I always say? I feel like there's a third thing.
One more thing which I want to mention. All this ability to, have a cost allocation for your Bedrock spend per application, user, tags, and all these kind of things, it's great. But also, it's very, very important to aim to align this all to business value, which all those applications provide you. Yes, so think also about one step up or next level of getting your cost visibility is joining this all with your business metrics, measuring cost per customer, cost per transaction, cost per, like maybe customer satisfaction, and see how actually your Bedrock application spend correlates with your customer satisfaction and stuff like that. So try to get into understanding what value it provides you, not just like how much you're spending for these applications, but does this spend worth it? Was it worth it or not?
Yeah, the ROI. And this is coming more and more. And I saw the FinOps Foundation is doing the token economics section now, and I think I was having discussions about this yesterday, and understanding what benefit is AI actually bringing to your company is a great question that I think we'll be diving into. That's the next stage of AI. We've now had generative AI, we've had agentic, and now it's like, okay, was it worth it? And having those conversations. So if anyone has any questions, just like no. But two lovely comments. Great session. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Like I said, email any follow-up questions or comment on the YouTube video if you're watching us there. And the sporting clipping show is good. Yes, my other show that I did on Monday. I've streamed every day. No, I haven't. Didn't stream yesterday. I've streamed Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday this week. I'm all over your channels, folks. It can't get rid of me, except for next week, because that's when we're going to be at FinOps X. So there's going to be no key session next week because of the conference, which is kind of everyone's there. So we'll be doing that, but we'll be back the week after. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to Twitch to catch us then. And that'll be all from us. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And we'll see you all in 2 weeks. Thanks. Or at FinOps X. Bye for now.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.